You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Trio. This is Season 6, Episode 5. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's episode, we have Micah Autry, a published author, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. Micah is on the podcast to share his entrepreneurship, his ideas, and what inspires him to motivate Trio students. So coming up in just a bit, Micah Autry. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Jaded Electronics, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, Cambridge Educational Services, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month goes a long way in supporting this podcast. If you own a business and would like to run an ad on the podcast, send us an email for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our business handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. Any amount is truly appreciated. If you would like to nominate a participant, advocate, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Micah Autry, entrepreneur, published author, and motivational speaker. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is a motivational speaker who has been around the higher education circuit. He graduated from the University of North Texas with a bachelor's in radio, television, and film. He is currently a serial entrepreneur that owns the Om Media, Autry and Stanley Real Estate Investments, and The Secrets of Silent Success. Our guest also authored Dorm Life to Work Life, which provides practical advice for how young adults can achieve professional success. His speaking abilities have allowed him to impart wisdom into thousands of students who are across the country who have traditionally underrepresented in higher education. He highlights how education, professionalism, and financial literacy changed his life and that it can do the same for others. Our guest also serves his community by providing scholarships through his media company, mentoring with multiple high schools, and staying involved with Black male programs at his alma mater that assist with matriculation and professional development. When he is not serving the youth and young adults, he is producing media projects for entities such as Chick-fil-A, Porsche, Southern Methodist University, the City of Dallas, Raising Cane's, Midas, and more. My guest has also had his social cultural film projects featured in the Denton Black Film Festival, the Baltimore International Black Film Festival, and South by Southwest. In 2021, our guest directed the feature-length documentary Black Men in White Coats, which highlighted the lack of Black men in healthcare. And screened over 100 of the country's medical schools in hopes of increasing Black male enrollment. Welcome to the podcast, Micah Autry. Micah, welcome to the Let's Talk Trio podcast.
No, thank you for the introduction. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to jump into it and chat for a bit. It'd be fun.
Man, same here. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I know for many business professionals, this time of year can be really, really hectic. So we appreciate you giving us some of your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for Entrepreneur, we work 7 days a week. So it's always crazy, but you make time for the things that's important. So I'm happy to be here, man.
Awesome, man. I'm so glad. Micah, how are things in Texas?
We're getting a little chilly, right? So I'm already double layering. Yeah. We had a really
I see the best.
Yeah. We had a really hot summer, so I'm glad to see the 50s and whatnot. But no, it's been good. Lots of football. If you know anything about Texas, we love football.
Oh, you love football over there. Okay, I gotta ask.
My Texans are winning, so I'm good.
Oh, okay. So you're a Texans fan.
Yeah, I'm from Houston. We don't like the Cowboys in my household. Don't even ask. Yeah.
Texas has two football teams?
Two NFL teams. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
We're crazy.
On.
Yeah.
So, Micah, we are recording this episode nearly a week before the Thanksgiving break. Are you planning to travel or visit family?
Yeah. I have a pretty small family, no uncles or aunts or anything like that. And so it's normally just my mom, my siblings, my grandmother, that type of thing. So we're a pretty small family, but me and my wife are going to drive up to Oklahoma for a comedy show on Black Friday. So that should be pretty fun.
That's wonderful. What is something that you're proud to have accomplished this year so far in 2023?
Yeah, so 2023 has been busy. I think the biggest thing is being more consistent with my professional speaking gigs. I did my biggest presentation yet, which was back in June for the ORS Upward Bound Summer Bridge program.
Oh, wow.
It was about 400 students there.
Wow.
At a campus here in Texas. So to be able to talk to 400 high school students and to keep their attention, I'm going to say that was my biggest feat of this year so far.
That's amazing. So what was the theme? What did you talk about?
Yeah. So they wanted me to come in there and give that social emotional learning, right? About decision making, goal setting. So one of my taglines is that you're not a product of your environment. You are a product to how you respond to your environment. So I talked about the 5 ways that I responded to my environment to be a first gen student and graduate, to be an entrepreneur, to start my company, and hopefully be able to impart some of that wisdom into the youth as well.
Right on. What is something that you have yet to accomplish? That's something that you're thinking about, that you're hoping, I want to accomplish this by the end of the year.
Wow, by the end of the year, it's a lot of things still left on the list.
Really?
I think the biggest thing for me this year that we didn't hit the mark on. So I'm a media production producer, right? I have a media production company, and your goal for a media production company when you're doing films and things of that nature is to make it to a big distribution platform.
It really is. Yeah.
Netflix, right? So
Absolutely.
We've been swinging for those fences for about 5 years now. We have a docu-series that we did over an AAU team, so a youth basketball team. I have this theme of doing things with young people, right? So we did this AAU series over this youth basketball team, and we wanted to try to get it to Netflix, wanted to try to get it to a major outlet, and we swung and missed, right? So that's the thing I haven't accomplished yet, but we did get it, posted to YouTube through an NBA player, and so it's been a pretty cool experience so far. But still trying to make it on Netflix. That's going to be my goal every day until I get there.
That's awesome, man. I love that.
Yeah.
So at least making it to Netflix, or at least one of the major
HBO
TV,
Max,
HBO
Peacock,
Max.
I'll take any of them. I'll take any of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Speak it into existence, man. I love that.
Yeah, 100%.
So Micah, let's take a trip back back in time. Can you tell us a little bit about your family and your upbringing?
Yeah. So I'm from Houston, Texas. I grew up in a neighborhood called Sunnyside. However, the irony of Sunnyside is that there wasn't too much sunny about that neighborhood. I actually grew up on a street called Paradise. I grew up on Paradise Lane in a neighborhood called Sunnyside. However, this neighborhood in Houston was the 6th worst neighborhood in the country in terms of poverty and crime rate. right? Not in the state, not in the city, the sixth worst in the country. And that's where I grew up. My mother was able to move us from that neighborhood to the east side of Houston, but the elements weren't that much better, right? Grew up in a single parent household. I was the youngest of three kids and always had a roof over our head. My mom was loving, and I'm blessed to have a loving mother and a loving grandmother to help rear me. However, we struggled financially, right? My mom wasn't college educated. My grandmother wasn't college educated. They worked nominal wage jobs. And when you're trying to support three kids on your own, making $30, $40, $50,000, that's not very much money at all. And so even though we always had a roof over our heads, the lights got cut off. We got eviction notices. And one of the most interesting things to me is that growing up, when I say we literally owned nothing, I truly mean we literally owned nothing. We didn't own the apartments that we rented. Even some of the consumer electronics, right? I remember being in middle school, getting that HD TV for the first time. I may be showing my age a little bit, but I was in 8th grade when we got our HD TV for the first time. And I was so excited to plug my Xbox up to it, not knowing that my mom had financed this at like 200% interest or something crazy, right?
Yeah.
But she was doing what she could to give us the amenities that our friends had and what we, sought as a good life, right? So I don't blame her for it. But as you grow older and you start looking at things in retrospect and hindsight, you start to understand some of those financial decisions and how we were in those predicaments. But I bring up the fact that we literally owned nothing because that's my origin story into entrepreneurship. Because now I want to own everything, right? I don't believe those individuals like myself coming from those lower socioeconomic status, right? We're talking about trio, right? From those lower SES backgrounds. In my opinion, it's hard for us to have equality without equity. And that's why I chose entrepreneurship. And that's a little bit about, my origin and backstory.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. How would your family describe you?
They probably say I work all the time.
Workaholic? Like, always working?
Always working and thinking about work. So that'll probably be the nice thing they say about me. They'll probably say I'm a hard worker, but they'll also probably say I'm smart alecky, right? I remember growing up, I was always the kid who's like too smart for their own good, who like wanted butt in adult conversations. I'm the youngest, right? I'm the youngest of three, and we're not close in age. My sister's 11 years older than me, and my brother's 5.5 years older than me. So I always heard the quote, "Your youngest child is as old as your oldest child." And so I'm hanging out with my 11-year-old sister. And I talked like that when I was 5. My mom's like, what did you just say? What are you talking about? So they would probably say I was smart alecky, I'm a hard worker, and I'm an old soul because I've always hung out with older people my entire life.
All right. Talk to me a little bit about your path in education. What did that look like for you?
Yeah. I think in terms of grade school, right? You're thinking about early on, again, growing up in the sixth worst neighborhood, you can imagine that those public schools weren't the greatest. And so I didn't learn how to read. Basically, I didn't get to my reading level until the 3rd grade. Right. So in Texas at that time, we had the TAX test, Texas Assessment of Skills and Knowledge. That was our standardized test here in Texas. And they were really concerned that I wasn't going to pass that test because I was struggling to read so bad, even in the 3rd grade. Right. Because you just kind of got passed through the system. Turns out it wasn't a critical thinking or the ability to process the information. It was my eyesight, right? I couldn't read the words. I couldn't read the words. And I was a little dyslexic as well. And so 3rd grade, I ended up getting glasses, right? Was able to help with the dyslexia, and that actually helped me to read a little bit better. I wasn't understanding the things that were on the paper, right? But once I passed that standardized test in 3rd grade that my mom, my teachers, and myself thought I was going to fail because I was struggling so hard to read, the rest is history, right? After I was like, okay, so if I put in the effort, I can actually pass this test. All throughout elementary school, all throughout middle school, all throughout high school, never made a C, right? A's and B's all the way throughout because like I said, I thought I was going to fail, but I was like, hey, I got these reading glasses on,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Now I can see, now I can put in the work. And that was a little bit of my journey. I don't have glasses
Wow.
on now because for my 30th birthday, I got LASIK surgery. So no more
Oh,
glasses.
wow.
But,
Well, congratulations
but
on the LASIK surgery. That's awesome.
yeah, but from about age 9 to 29, I wore glasses. Didn't even
Oh
know
my
life without
gosh.
glasses. So just had LASIK about a month
Wow.
ago.
All
Yeah.
right. Um, and I'm asking this next question because knowing full well that you had to one identify that there was a challenge and an issue there. Uh,
Yeah.
did it make it hard to adjust? Well, once you got glasses, did it make it hard to kind of start liking these subjects again? Because I know for some students that when they begin reading and they get frustrated with reading, they quit it and they go, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Or they end up just not going back to it. For you, what did that look like now that once you got your glasses?
Yeah. I think for me, growing up, and I read a quote later on in life that made a lot of sense. For me as a kid, I always wanted to please the adults.
Mm.
So that was just what I wanted to do. I
Hmm.
remember, okay, I see that kid acting out. The teacher doesn't like it. I'm just going to be quiet. Right. A lot of people put the bad connotation like the teacher's pet. Well, I was happily the teacher's pet. I just wanted to make the adults happy. I wanted to make
Hmm.
mom happy. I wanted to make my grandma happy. I wanted to make the teacher happy, the principal, whoever I came in contact with. I wanted to make them happy. Right. And making them happy made me feel good. Even as a business owner now, I like to make people happy. It's all about customer service. I'm a people pleaser. And I think that was something that was, a trait that I was born with or ingrained with at a very young age. And so even when I was struggling, I wanted to make the adults happy.
Hmm.
I mentioned that my sister's 11 years older than me. So when I was in the third grade, my sister was, I guess, 20 already or something like that. And
Hmm.
I remember her buying me a Nintendo SP, like a little Game Boy SP. And again, to that point of me wanting to please adults, I remember my progress report, I got a C. And I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? I don't deserve to have this Game Boy, right? I need to make sure I can get my grade up in reading before I can play my Game Boy again. And so that was always kind of my motivation was to please adults.
Did you have a favorite subject while in school?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna say favorite subject. I'm gonna say social studies and history, and I'm a big history buff now. Social studies, geography, history. I know they kind of clump them together,
Oh yeah, typically, yeah.
and typically, right? So I'm gonna say that cluster. I feel like I've always had a slightly above average memory. And when you're in social studies, when you're taking your AP US history class, I just got to remember 1776. That's the year the United States was founded. That's all I
Yeah.
had to do was just remember that date. I can pass the test. It was no analytics, no math, no science, no equations, none of that. It was
Right.
just a memory. And even as a professional speaker now, I go up there and I just reciting and performing something I
Hmm.
memorize, and it works for me.
Wow. Did family stress the importance of an education with you?
I guess that would depend on the definition of stress,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Again, I was always a B student,
Hmm.
so it was never any discipline in regards to my schooling, my grades. Getting off the video game, that's the difference, right? There was some
Hmm.
discipline around that. But
Right.
in terms of the schooling, it was never any discipline there. So I don't think education was extremely stressed as much as it was, and my family very supported, right?
Supported.
So my mom worked 25 plus years at the post office, the graveyard shift. She would work
Wow.
from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. to make sure that she can take me to school every morning, me and my siblings, right? She could take us to
Hmm.
school every morning. She was at every PTA meeting, every awards banquet, every band concert, even if she was
Wow.
half asleep getting there because she had worked a full shift before that, but she was literally at everything, right? And
Hmm.
so even though she didn't have a college education background, she struggled even in high school, but she knew the importance of it. And instead of pressuring us to, hey, make sure you do your timetables, she was always there to support us through all our education endeavors. And as a mama's boy, when mama was there at every single spelling bee, concert, any type of education event, it made me want to do good. Again, like I said, I was in the business of pleasing adults. So it was always nice to have her there supporting.
What was that transition, or what do you remember most about high school?
What do I remember most about high school? Marching band.
Marching
Yes,
band.
what I remember most about high school. So I joined band in sixth grade. I was in band all the way up until I graduated from high school. I
Hmm.
was a section leader in band in high school, and we mentioned this earlier that football is huge in Texas.
It really
Well,
is.
the second biggest thing in Texas is marching band. Like it is crazy. So much money is put into marching band. I kid you not. We
Mm.
literally practice longer than the football team during the summertime. We
I don't doubt
literally
it.
practice longer than the football team during the season. So the football team
Hmm.
will have the stadium to practice in
Yeah.
from, after school from 3 to 5. We would be out there from 5 to 9, right?
Yeah.
9 p.m. getting out of
Wow.
band practice because we were, practicing our show, trying to get ready to make it to the state competition. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I remember from high school was marching band. And there was a quote my band director used to say all the time. It was an Aristotle quote that says, um, what? Oh, now I lost it.
Oh no.
Man. But it went something along the lines of excellence isn't an act, but it's a habit,
Oh, I
right?
like that.
Like,
Yeah.
God, I can't remember the quote. It's an Aristotle quote. But yeah, excellence is not an act; it's a habit. And so
Yeah.
they were really big about discipline and
Hmm.
band.
Hmm.
The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Getting better each and every rep. And even though I despise my band director most of
Oh
the
no.
time, the things that you take away as an adult now and the type of discipline and the necessary soft skills that I have to be an entrepreneur, waking up early in the morning, doing the things that I don't want to do. As they say, almost like eating crap. Like you got to just eat the bad stuff and keep it moving, right? It was the
Mm.
same thing in
Hmm.
band. It's the same thing in entrepreneurship. And I'm going to credit, some of my entrepreneurial success to being in marching band for a really long time.
Wow, that's amazing. So, Micah, I got to point out, you and I have that in common. So we were both in marching band.
Okay.
I got to know, and the audience is probably dying to know, what instrument did you play?
Yeah, so I played trombone.
Trombone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a
I
low brass.
I figured you for either saxophone or for trumpet.
Oh yeah, no. Trumpets were a little too braggadocious for
Two
me.
bra Okay, okay.
And so
I
yeah,
can see,
I was
I can
more
see
the
that.
low brass guys. Yeah.
You're very, very humble, and trombones
Appreciate
are
it.
very, very cool instruments. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yes,
That definitely matches your personality. So thank
I
you for
appreciate
sharing that.
it.
I played clarinet, and
Okay.
a very nerdy instrument that I still get told to this day. But
Do you
it
still play?
once in a great while. I
Okay.
busted out around Christmas just because I want to play a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
just once in a great while. Do you still play trombone?
I have it literally in the room right next door to me, and I
No
may
way.
play it. Yeah, and it's the trombone that I've had. It's a Stradivarius Bach 42B.
Wow.
It's like a $3,000 or $4,000 horn that my mom financed back when I was in middle school for me, and I still got it to the day. It has all the bumps, bruises, sweat, and tears from high school marching
Dang.
band on it, but it's still in the room next to me, and I'll break it out, every 4 or 5 months and see how bad I sound because it's terrible when I break it out.
I'm sure you sound pretty good. Yeah, you're being very, very humble.
No, I sound like
Um,
a sixth grader again. Like I just learned how to play a horn, but I can play concert F and we'll keep it moving.
that's amazing. At what point in high school did you decide that college was something you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I think for me, all throughout middle school and high school, I've always liked money, right? I was the kid who wanted to like sell candy in middle school and things like that. So I always like money,
Mhm.
and I thought that earning $100,000 would make me rich. That's the number, right? I want to make $100,000 as soon as I graduate, as soon as I get a job. So
Mhm.
I started to think about careers that I can make $100,000 with. And you think about going into medicine, like that takes too long. That's what a lot of people say,
It
right?
takes about
Medicine
eight
takes
years,
too
10
long.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So that takes too long. And I was like, okay, well, I can just go be an engineer, right?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
I wanted to be an engineer for the longest. I love cars. So I was thinking maybe a mechanical engineer, electrical, or computer engineer, something around cars. I love cars.
Yeah.
And then you quickly find out you got to do math in engineering. So I took
Mm.
some principal engineering classes and like early in high school, and I was like, this math thing is just not for me. I have a good memory, but I'm not good with equations. And so uh, the question was, when did I decide I wanted to go to college? It was when I decided I wanted to be an engineer, because I learned that, hey, if you want to be an engineer, you got to go and get a degree to be an engineer. And so, like I said, all throughout middle school, beginning of high school, I wanted to go to college because I wanted to be an engineer, because I wanted to make the $100,000 a year. Right now, some deviations turned, and now I'm in media, and I don't have to do any math. Thank you. But that's kind of where my journey to wanting to go to college started.
Right on. Who did you talk to about college, or who discussed college with you? Was it you initiating that conversation, or was it somebody else saying, "Hey, did you think about college?"
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really a self-starter with anything I do. I'm an introvert by nature, and I'm an inward thinker. So if we're stranded on an island, I am not going to be the person in the group throwing out solutions. I'm going to go sit in the forest, ruminate on some ideas, and then come back with a plan on how I think we can do it. And so when it came to college, like I said, my mom, my grandmother, they didn't go. My sister went very briefly and actually got pregnant her first semester of college and had my niece. And then my older brother went to college very briefly and then dropped out as well. And so they had very bad experiences with college. They didn't really understand it. They were only there for a semester or two and just got a little bit of debt, but really had no successful attempt at doing this college journey. And nor did they leave home. And so I was like two things, and I'll talk about this in my presentation I do to TRIO students. One of the things that I did was like, hey, I see this environment that I have at home, and I think that college is going to be a different environment. So let me leave this environment at home, go off to college, and create an ecosystem and an environment in which I think I can thrive. Not saying that home is bad. I just think if I want to go somewhere else, this college, this environment over here is going to help me get there as opposed to staying home. And so no one in my family had done this, right? The whole college thing. And so it was a lot of, let me go on the internet and look up the Ohio State University. Let me go look up Auburn University. Obviously, I was in some different organizations that would tell us about college and things like that in high school, but I wasn't an avid. I'm introverted, so I didn't go to any of the fast food things that my high school had. I didn't do anything. I just went on the internet and tried to research it. And honestly, this is going to sound funny. I'm a big sports guy and I'm a big gamer. I'm going to tell you about 85% of my knowledge around colleges, what's the Hoosier State is, what's the Buckeye State. All of this stuff came from college football and college football games. I understood universities because I knew where they were. I know what Columbus, Ohio is. I knew what the Little Apple was, Manhattan, Kansas. I knew all of these universities and all these little small cities and the sizes of these universities and what conferences they were in. I knew all of this because I like sports and I like games. And so that's kind of how I learned about college, was sports, games. And then I went on the internet and, okay, I want to do this media stuff. Does Auburn University have a media department? Oh, okay, they do. Let me research it and fill out some information.
So that's how you found out about college, or that's like you said, you're very much a self-starter. So awesome that video games played a role in that, and that you were able to recognize like the different divisions that each football team plays, which is amazing. I think that's awesome. I think for everybody it occurs differently. Can you talk to us about the moment you graduated from high school, and what was that moment like for you?
I was happy to be done with marching band. I wanted to quit band like every year after sophomore year, but I'm like, man, I'm not a quitter. Hang in there and go through the summer band and throw up one more time in this Texas heat. I'm not sure what state you're from. What state are you from?
No, originally from New Mexico, now living in Colorado.
Okay, so it was hot where you were too then.
Hot and windy.
Hot. Okay, so we had hot and humid. I don't know if you ever been to Houston, New Orleans, Miami, but like they're the worst cities in the country for humidity. Houston humidity, like you walk outside and you like just start oozing sweat.
That's what I'm told.
It was terrible every day of summer band. So the first thing when I graduated high school, I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. They're like, you're not going to do band in college? I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm done with that. I loved it, but I'm done with that. So that was the first thing. But no, I felt very, very accomplished graduating high school. I graduated 12 overall in my high school class, and that's out of about 1,100 kids. I was 12.
Oh, that's amazing.
And thank you. And so we were very competitive when it came to GPAs. We're taking like AP music theory to try to get our GPAs up and stuff like that. So I was, like I said, I felt very accomplished, and I was just very proud that, hey, I walked across the stage third, right? It was the valedictorian, salutatorian. It was one lady in front of me with the last name A. My last name is Autry. So the top 10% that let us walk across, I was literally the fourth person to walk across stage. Wow. And I was like, man, I did this, right? But on to the next thing. So I was excited to be able to go off to college, but it was fun to be done with band and to have accomplished high school, I guess, at such a high level in terms of academics and GPA.
Absolutely. So you decided to attend the University of North Texas and video games have taught you that there are a variety of colleges that exist for you. Why did you decide on University of North Texas?
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons. The first reason, back to that environment thing, it was farther enough away from home, right? I'm a backtrack.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I want to emphasize the good about self-starting and the bad about self-starting, right? So I wanted to go to the Ohio State University. That was my favorite team growing up. I still love the Ohio State. I married an Ohioan, like my wife's from Ohio. Like, I don't know, I just got this weird connection. I own real estate properties in Ohio. Like, it's a weird. I kid you not. It's a weird relationship between me and Ohio. All right. So I wanted to go to the Ohio, and I say the Ohio State University out of respect. I've actually been to a game at the Horseshoe. Right. I like this. I like this university. Right. So my high school organization that I was in, like a high school fraternity, they had kind of like this pipeline program that they had built with the Ohio State University, and so they would take a couple of Black males to go to Ohio State every year. And so I was like, okay, I really want to go, but at this time, my ideas were changing. I wanted to major in film. And again, I'm like 16, 17. I'm like, okay, well, let me go and see if the Ohio State has a film program. Of course they do. It's like the biggest university. They have everything. But as a self-starter, I went on their website and I was just looking in the wrong place. And I didn't see that they had a film school. And I was like, okay, I guess they don't have a film school. So I guess I can't go to Ohio State. That's the 17-year-old reasoning, right? Of course they have one. Just call an academic advisor or ask someone or just look hard on the website. But because I didn't see it on the website, I didn't end up going. It's fine. I ended up going to the football games. I still married someone from Ohio. Like, it's fine. But okay, so Ohio State was my first option. Apparently they didn't have my major, right? I just didn't know what I was doing. They didn't have my major. So my band director had went to the University of North Texas. I knew that it was further enough away from home. It's about a 4-hour drive away from home. Okay, so that's far enough that mom can't show up unannounced, right? It's far enough away that I can be separated away from what I would call Houston problems. I'm from the city of Houston, and just some of those family dealings, and family's not bad, right? Family's great, but some of the negativity or the downtroddenness, or just some of those survival financial issues can bleed over to what you're trying to do as a first generation college student, right? And so I figured that some physical distance could allow me to have some mental distance as well. So, okay, cool. 4-hour drive. I could drive back home any weekend that I wanted to, but I was further enough away that I can start to build a life that I saw could get me to the goals that I wanted to reach. So, okay, it was 4 hours away. That's good. I had some second and third cousins that lived in the Dallas area. So, if something really went awry, if I got sick, if my car broke down, I had someone that I could call. Cool. That's box number 2. Box number 3, I had a couple friends that were thinking about going to UNT as well. One of those friends was my barber. So that's really important, right? And he ended up turning out to be my business partner. So the fact that I was able to leave home, the fact that it was, further enough away to have that mental and physical distance, but I was still close enough to some type of family if something was an emergency. And the fact that I had a potential friend or friends that wanted to go to this university, I think kind of sold me on it. I went for a visit twice. I went one time my junior year, one time my senior year. I liked the atmosphere. I liked the people. They had the football. They had the fraternities that I thought I was going to join, but I didn't. They had all of this stuff to get the college experience. Wasn't too far. Wasn't too expensive. And it was a bit of a different college, right? You know about Texas, the University of Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. That's where all the people in my high school went, the University of Houston. So I was like, I'm going to go do something different. They had my major, they had a good video program. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to UNT. So I am a self-starter. I'm also very decisive. I applied to only one university. That was the University of North Texas. And I went there, graduated in 3.5 years, got out of there with as least amount of debt as possible, and started a business.
Amazing. Well, we're going to definitely reflect on some of that college experience with you. So do you remember what you felt when you set foot on that college campus at the University of North Texas?
Yeah. When reviewing the questions, I told my wife about this. Outside of the day my wife moved to Texas, right? So we weren't married yet, but obviously she was in Ohio. We were doing a long distance. We were traveling and everything, but it gets kind of crazy traveling. So the day that she moved to Texas, I'm gonna say it was the best day of my life. The day that my wife moved to Texas. The second best day was a couple months later when we got married. But honestly, the third best day in my life was the day I stepped on a college campus. Right. Really? When I moved into UNT, I remember this feeling so vividly. It was 2012. I remember the polo shirt I had on. I remember driving in my Chevy 2007 HHR. Wow. I remember the Wale song, the rapper song that I had on when I made the right turn onto North Texas Boulevard. I was so enthusiastic. My senses felt so heightened because I was just in a new environment. I was going to be by myself in this dorm room, so many new people, so many new things. I was on my own. Man, it was the most empowering, most liberating feeling I've ever had. And it felt so good to have this much change in my life. And I'll tell people all the time that I often try to seek that same amount of change. Wow. Right. So as I transition from being a media producer to being a professional speaker, I get that same sense. Right. When I move from one city to the next city, I get that same sense. And so I'm always seeking that same sense of a new adventure. So, yeah, it was literally top 5 best days of my life moving onto my college campus. I remember that entire day. I do remember my mom like crying when she left, but I also remember being like, okay, bye mom, and going to the rec center to play basketball. Right. I remember the entire thing. And man, that first day, moving into my dorm room, you can almost like remember the smell. It was literally one of the best days of my life. And I was just so liberated, so free, and so excited for this new adventure I was about to go on.
Wonderful. And now a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. NOSOTROS Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. NOSOTROS Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotrosedu.org.
Now, back to the podcast. So this next question I'm going to ask you, but you already said earlier that you only had one program and one program in mind. So if you don't mind, I'm going to reframe this question. Were there any other programs you were considering aside from the one that you ended up majoring in?
Yeah. So there was one, I guess, other university or school that I was thinking about doing. The Art Institute, which is no longer even an organization anymore.
Yeah, I heard about
at least in
this.
Texas. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I thought about going to the Art Institute in Houston. I went and did like a little tour that day and got to see it, but it didn't have the college experience that I was looking for in terms of fraternities, football games, dorm rooms. Like I wanted the college experience.
Yeah.
So the Art Institute didn't have it. It was in Houston. It wasn't further enough away to have that physical and mental distance. And so it was a very short deviation off my plan of going to the University of North Texas. And so, yeah, outside of considering the Art Institute for a little bit, I was always sure I wanted to major in media. By the time I was in that, whole college application process, I was sure I wanted to major in media. I was sure of what I wanted to do. I felt like college was at that point more of like a formality. Like, hey, I need to go get the degree, get the experience, get the education, get the networking. But I really had a plan of what I wanted to do, why I wanted to do it, and how I wanted to do it. So yeah, I didn't really look too much. I guess I was lucky. I didn't have the major changes, the dropping, picking up classes. I was lucky in the sense that I was, pretty fast tracked through.
So let's talk about your college experience. What did your
Yeah.
involvement in college look like?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I remember my first semester of college, I was like, hey, I'm gonna get out and get involved. I was extremely involved in high school. I was in band, I was in National Honor Society, I was in the AV media class, I was the president of our high school fraternity. I was very involved in high school. And so I'm like, I'm going to be involved in college as well. And I went and applied to volunteer at our television station, North Texas TV, the University had a television station. I went and got my certification, and I was like, I don't want to be involved. I just felt I had been so involved in high school that I was like, I really just want to like go to class, go home, and play my Xbox. And so outside of that first semester volunteering for North Texas Television, I didn't get involved in any organizations until my final semester at UNT. So that entire meat of my college experience, I didn't get involved at all. However, there's a little asterisk by there because in the middle of that, I started a business.
You started a business while in college.
While in college. So
Wow.
I started, I was already doing freelance work from high school, right? And then I started the business when in college. And once I started the business in college, because you got to remember, I'm coming from this lower socioeconomic status, the making money from the business wasn't something that I was doing because it was fun. It was something that I did because I had to. Right. I had to be able to pay for the college department, had to be able to pay for the rent, had to be able to pay for the tuition that the federal funding didn't cover, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm working, building this business out of necessity. And once I got to that point of, hey, I'm building this business out of necessity, getting involved in college became, secondary, tertiary to me building, running the business, making money to be able to support myself, help my family, et cetera, et cetera. So I will put that asterisk by why I wasn't involved, but I started a media production company that I still have 8 years later. So I'm going to say it was a win.
Absolutely. I definitely would say that's a win. Did you receive any sort of support while you were in college?
Yeah. Again, I know, like I said, my mom, she was always very supportive when I was in grade school, high school, and she was very supportive even when I was in college, sending care packages, showing up for family weekend. That was always nice. Obviously, I was able to get some scholarships, so that support financially was nice as well. And then just having a nice group of friends to support you as well. So
critical.
I mentioned going from high school to college. So two of my business partners that I started the media production company with, we all went to high school together. And then we all went to college together, 4 hours away, started the business. But I had two other friends that were from high school that went to college with us as well. We ended up making this the social group, right? So we would go out there and spend money at the mall that we didn't have, but if we needed to study or talk about papers or help each other with projects and assignments or help each other move, we did that as well. So having that little piece of home with me, even though you wanted to, distance from the home environment a little bit, having a little piece of home of North Shore, that was my high school, having a little bit of North Shore, my high school, and North Texas, my college, was a benefit for sure.
Talk about the moment you graduated from college. What do you remember most about this moment?
Yeah, two things I remember, and I'll say the happy part first. The first thing I remember was just how excited my family was. I have 7 nieces and nephews. I think at that time I had 5. And they had never been on a college campus, let alone a college graduation. This was the first college, to my knowledge, the first college graduation that any of my family had been to, and it was for me. And so just seeing how excited they were about me graduating, about me accomplishing this new accomplishment was great. On the flip side of that, how I felt, unfortunately, it was a pretty depressing day.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
The reason why I say it was depressing is because college was always the goal, right? I told you, I want to make $100,000 when I was in middle school. Go get your engineering degree. That's how you're going to do it. And a lot of times, high schools and public school system, they preach college. Go to college. Go to college. Go to college. That's like the big top of the mountain goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens once you reach it? And for me, I don't feel like it was that hard to reach it. I graduated with a 3.8 in 3.5 years. I graduated early and I graduated magna cum laude. It wasn't that hard. So like, what now? Right. And as I graduated that day, I went and ate at Papados. Here I go to Texas. Go get you Papados, the best seafood ever. So we went to Papados. Yeah. I'm not getting paid for that one, but they make great food. I went to a restaurant called Papados with my family. We sat down, we ate, and then they drove back down to Houston. I remember getting back to my college apartment. I still got my suit on, and I sat on the couch. My high school football team was playing in the conference semifinals. I turned it on, and I just remember sitting on the couch for like 6 hours. Didn't change my clothes, and I was just like, what now? Right? Because this was the goal, right? To graduate college. But I feel like I am just as lost figuring this out as I ever was, right? Like I have this degree now, but what do I do with it? How do I make money? How do I build a life? What skills do I have? How do I apply this, right? And so that's one of the big things that I try to do when I go back to speak to trio groups or to speak to those in higher education. It's like, okay, when you have that what now moment, what tools do you have in your arsenal to be prepared for that what now moment?
That's important.
I had this what now moment, and the literal next day, I had a job. I had a gig, not a job, but I had a gig because I had already started my business, right? I had an LLC when I graduated, right? Yeah. So we had a gig literally the next day. I was gonna make $1,000 the next day after I graduated, and I still felt like I don't even know where I want to go, what I'm gonna do. I got this degree now, but it was just the lack of what happens when you reach what you thought was the top. So that was a very strange feeling that day that I had to kind of cope with and figure out what was next.
Absolutely. So this next question, I'm going to reframe it a little bit because you kind of answered the question about what there was this lost moment for you. What were steps or what were processes or maybe even clues as to what you wanted to do after you graduated?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me was exposure. I talk about exposure a lot, and again, to piggyback off of the idea of going back and talking to trio students or just students in higher education that's traditionally underrepresented, I have been able to shake hands with 2 billionaires. I've been in the home of NFL athlete, political officials, you name it, right? I've had the lucky opportunities to meet, talk, and converse with these people and learn a lot and be exposed to their greatness. And so what I try to do is curate all of that information and take it with me inside of these student support services and like give all of the information to these students. I'm like, hey, this is what I was exposed to. This is what I've been taught. Like, let me tell you the story of this judge or this person or that person. And for me, learning what I was going to do next came from exposure to these individuals. I remember this is my last semester. I graduated in December. I was a winter graduate. And so it was October of my senior year in college, my last semester. There was a guy by the name of Attorney Naru Witherspoon. Is still a client to my day 8 years later. And he called me up and was like, hey, Mike, I want you to come do this video for me for my law firm. And I was like, hey, Naru, I got class. He was like, I'm going to give you $30,000 if you miss class. And I was like, I should probably go to class, but I should also get $30,000. So that day I missed class. That was, I kid you not, that was the only class I missed my entire college career. Now, I didn't miss the whole day either. I just missed that one class, right? That was the only class I ever missed my entire college career, and because somebody gave me $3,000 to do so. So I have no regrets about it.
Yeah.
So
to be fair, I mean, it's $3,000.
It's $3,000. You know, yeah, you know, hey, we gotta weigh the pros and cons there.
Absolutely,
so I took the $3,000, and the class was fine. I still passed the class. Okay, cool. So, but I remember going to his home. Right. So this is a black male. He wasn't even 40. He was still in his 30s, a black male from East St. Louis, Illinois. So not a great city. He tells me like he grew up without 2 nickels to rub together. And I went to his home in Heath, Texas, one of the biggest homes I've ever been to. Walked up to the door. He has 12-foot doors. He has 2 miniature lion statues on both sides. I walk inside. There's chandeliers everywhere. And this is the kicker. I walk to the back of the house. He has a full court basketball gym in his house.
My gosh.
Hardwood floors, goals on both sides. And I'm like,
wow,
what the heck? And he's like, yeah, man. He was like, I made my first $1 million when I was 24 years old. And this isn't an athlete. This isn't an entertainer. This is a guy who went to college like I did, got a degree in a profession, and started a business. And the amount of excellence that he had achieved blew my mind. And that's when I was like, okay, I got to start doing something differently. Right. And just listening to him, mentoring me, telling me what to do. Right. I think that's how I started to develop where I wanted to go post-graduation, was to be exposed to amazing individuals like Attorney Naru Witherspoon. And that's just one story. I got enough stories to go for 2 hours with the amazing people that I've met through entrepreneurship, through doing videos for these people. But if I had any advice to give to a TRIO student or any student, 2 things that I would say is provide value to people. When you're a valuable young person, in my opinion, there is no, and I don't want to say commodity, but there's no better resource in our nation, on our planet, than a valuable young person, right? You get valuable old people, but we're tired, right? I got to stretch when I get up now, right? I'm tired. Like you said, it's what time? It's 7:48. I'm going to be sleeping 2 hours. I'm tired, right? So a valuable young person, and the fact that you're laughing so hard, you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I relate.
Yeah, understand. A valuable young person, a young person with a skill set is the best resource ever. I'm trying to recruit them, grab them up, and put them under my wing as fast as I can. And so if you can be a valuable young person, those individuals who are more seasoned, more experienced, and more wealthy than you, and have achieved things that you may want to achieve, will happily tell you the game plan on how they achieved it, because you're valuable to them. So that would be my biggest thing, because I believe me, with my skills as a video production professional, the value that I was able to add to my clients, they were happy when I was like, hey, Naru, can we go get pizza? To talk about how you made $1 million at 24 and what you do for marketing? Sure. Hey, Vonda, who is a district court judge, hey, can I go have lunch with you? Sure. These people said yes, because I had added value to them that they were happy to give the value back.
That's awesome. So, Micah, you are a motivational speaker. Can you tell us, how did you get into this field? And what drew you in?
Yeah, so I was always the kid who liked presentation day at school. Most people don't want to get up and speak in front of the crowds. And I realized that this could be like a superpower, right? They talk about what's the 5 greatest fears of human beings. Like after death, I think public speaking is like 2 or 3 on the list.
Yeah.
Is it still number one? Yeah,
it's still number 1.
Right. And so I was like, okay, I have a superpower because like I get a dopamine hit, I get adrenaline, I get like you put me in front of 400 people. I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. I'm like, okay, you're the weird one. So I'm like, I'm going to lean into this weirdness, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
weird. I want to go talk in front of people. So I'm going to lean into it.
Mhm,
So that's
mhm.
kind of where it started. I always like to give presentations in
Wow.
school and church or whatever. I always wanted to get up and talk in front of people. Maybe I like attention. I don't know. But I like to get in front of people and talk. So that was number one. And
Mhm.
then number two, I remember being in high school and being in this high school fraternity. It was called the North Shore Gents. I
Mhm.
remember previous members who were in college or had become professionals. They would always come back and talk to us. So I was like, hey, when I get a chance, I'm going to go back and talk to that group. And that's the first thing I did as soon as I got to college. I went back to my high school to talk to that group.
Mhm.
And I'm a videographer. I do media. So guess what I did? I filmed it. Right. So I
Yeah.
filmed me talking to this group of high school students and I posted it on social media and people start liking, commenting on it, saying, oh, Micah, you're gifted. This is great, blah, blah, blah. One of my clients saw it and he had a networking group. He was like, hey, Mike, I didn't know you were into public speaking. I was like, I didn't know I was either until you just said it. So, okay, I guess I'm into public speaking. He was like, hey, I have a networking group. It's like a lunch and learn, right? It's about 80 to 90 people.
Mhm.
And we would love for you to come and speak on the topic of bridging the gap. So at this point, I may be 22, 23. I've been in business since I was 20, right? So I've
Mhm.
already been in business 2 or 3 years. And I'm managing people who are 18, 19, but I'm working with Gen X and baby boomers, right, as clients. So I'm really this kind of middle child. I'm still the middle child. I'm 30. I got 22-year-old employees and I'm working with 60-year-old people. Still the middle child. So because I was this middle child, they wanted me to come and do a presentation about bridging the gap.
Mhm.
And so I went and start doing these presentations for networking groups and for chambers of commerce talking about bridging the gap, right? I did one, I filmed it, and somebody else was like, hey, come out here and talk to my group about it. So that's kind of how the public speaking started. But after Corona, I was like, hey, I wanna change it up a little bit. Not that I don't want to talk to business professionals, but that's not my group of people, right?
Mhm.
I love
Mhm.
young people. I love young people that come from similar circumstances as I do. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it my mission to go and talk to these groups. And you know, the trio programs or these federally grant funded programs or these high schools or these middle schools, of course, they're not gonna have the budget to pay me as these professional groups would, or as this marketing company will pay me to go talk about marketing, right? Like they're
Right.
not
Right.
gonna have the budget, but the fulfillment that I get through that social entrepreneurship to go and talk to a group of trio students, it's priceless, man. I think I made a post last week. I talked to a group of trio students. It was maybe 12 kids in
Mhm.
there, and we
Mhm.
talked about financial literacy. And we were this was a second or third presentation that I've done with this group. So we're higher level now. We're talking about investments, right? We're talking about
Right.
real
Right.
estate and stuff. And so I was over there talking about how to invest in the brokerage account, how to buy stocks. And
Mhm.
I'm going through and I'm trying to make this as simplistic as possible. And after the presentation, one of the young ladies came up to me and was like, hey, I opened up an account and I bought a stock while you were talking. And that's
Oh.
the most fulfilling and most gratifying thing ever. Like no amount of money could make me feel as good as like, okay, I just literally changed someone's potential financial trajectory for their life. And I think if you change someone's finances, you can change their life. Right.
Absolutely.
And I did it in the course of a, an hour presentation. And she literally had the app, the stock, bought everything on her phone just
Wow.
from sitting in that presentation. And so that's kind of how I got started in public speaking. And that's honestly why I do it.
Right on. You also own a multimedia company.
Yeah.
How did this come about? At what point did it get started? And you've grown it since.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take you back to high school. My brother, I'm the youngest again. My brother does music, and so this was around my junior year. And my brother bought a camera. I don't know if you know anything about cameras, but at that point, this is like 2010, 2011. They came out these DSLR cameras, so you could get really good video from cameras who had traditionally only done pictures, right? So
Mhm.
they're cheaper, but they make these beautiful images of what we thought were beautiful. It looks like crap now compared to 4K, right? But what we thought was beautiful back in 2010, 2011. My brother went out there and bought a camera, and I was just a little brother trying to hang out with big bro. And so he's like, hold this camera for us. So cool. I started holding the camera. I started filming. It became fun. So I became good at it, and I started to edit it. the videos, and then we would post them on YouTube, post them on Twitter, and people start commenting on the videos like, hey, that's a cool video. Or they would ask my brother like, hey, who did you hire to do your music videos? I'm like, hey, 16-year-old brother here, I did it. And I quickly realized that I could monetize this.
Wow.
And there's something interesting that happens. And I tell this to any presentation that I do. There's a quote by the author Scott Trench that says, you can learn to love almost any career that you become good at and get paid good for. And so I don't think I was magically gifted at video production or anything like that, or I was destined to start a media production business. It was something that I thought was fun, so I got good at it. And when you get good at something, you become valuable, people start to pay you for it. And then it becomes this cycle of, oh, I'm good, so I get paid. I want to get better, so I get paid more. And it just becomes this continuous positive feedback loop. And so I had already started my freelance company doing music videos when I was in high school. I was able to go and buy me new sneakers and new clothes for high school because I was doing $300 music videos. And then when I got to college, I got a job for 3 months, but that's the only job I ever had. I'm 30 now. I've only had one job for 3 months. Everything else has come to entrepreneurship. So I had that job for 3 months and I was like, no, put your focus back on the media production. So I was doing freelance and I wanted to scale up. I wanted to go bigger, have more revenue, bigger gigs, have more people. And so I was like, okay, I need to start a company. Went and got with my 2 business partners, as I said earlier, while we were still in college. We was like, okay, is this a viable way to make money? So the first month we made $2,000 or $3,000. A couple months in, we're making $6,000 a month, and then kind of the rest is history. Well, okay, we can actually make a career off of this. When formed the LLC, and now we've been in it 8 years now, making video projects and films. Yeah.
Well, Micah, congratulations.
Thank you.
My next question then, really, I think you already covered this already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What motivates you? What gets you up in the morning? What fuels you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the opening part that I talked about with my family, that we never owned anything growing up. So I wanted equity, right? I wanted to own the car I drive, the house I live in. I wanted to own my time. And I think that's a big thing with entrepreneurship. I own my time, even though I work 7 days a week, but I choose to, right?
That's your choice.
At least that's what I tell myself. I choose to. But yeah, I own my time. This weekend, I want to go down to Houston just to see my family. I don't have to put in PTO, and there's nothing wrong with working a job and having to do those things. But the ability to have a business and to be able to have your own time, your own schedule, that's kind of been my why I wanted to do this. Also giving opportunities to people, right? I've been able to pay so many young people, right? I have one of my line producers right now. She's 19. She's a sophomore in school. I'm thinking the jobs that I have her doing right now is better experiential knowledge than she's getting in the classroom. No disrespect to the classroom, but we have her on film sessions. She's doing the work right now. She's getting an internship, and I'm paying her right now, right? And so just to have that ability, that's a big why. And then for me, Tom Bilyeu, I've never ever heard of Tom Bilyeu. He's the founder of Quest Nutrition, just an amazing guy, does a lot of good content. He talks about, 93% or so of your motivation. It's the good stuff, right? You want to buy your mama a house one day. You want to give back to your community. You want to make everything feel good. But that 7%, that's that, Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba mentality. That's the psycho Tom Brady mentality. And I say this all the time. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. every morning, no matter if it's a weekend or not. It could be my birthday on a Sunday. I'm gonna wake up at 4:30 a.m. and come sit at my desk and do something, right? Yeah, no amount of me wanting to, buy my mom something nice or help someone out is making me get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning. It's that 7% of monomaniacal craziness. I'm just gonna do this because there's no way you're gonna stop me. I'm gonna write my goals down every day in my book. There's nothing gonna stop me from getting those goals except myself. That's what gets me up. And maybe I'm a little insane. Maybe I'm a little crazy, but I think that 7% of I got to do this no matter what is what keeps me motivated.
Wow. What has been the most rewarding aspect of your career?
Most rewarding aspect of my career. I'm going to go back and talk about the professional speaking. When I get I had a young lady today reach out to me on LinkedIn. I did a presentation that she was at, and she was like, "Hey, your presentation was so helpful. I'm struggling to put into application some of the things that you told me to do." I replied back to her and was like, "I struggle to put those in application too." And she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm human. Like when I go up there and speak, I'm not talking just to you. I'm talking to myself." So to be able to have those one-on-one moments with people after the presentation, whether it's, having a 30-minute Zoom meeting, talking to Alexia on LinkedIn, or having a young lady come up to me after the presentation and say, "Hey, I just bought a stock on my phone." That's the most fulfilling experience ever, man. So I really enjoy that.
That's awesome. What has been the most challenging? I know people love to talk about the rewarding experiences,
Yeah.
but here on this podcast, we also talk about the challenges. What has been the
Yeah.
most challenging aspect of your entrepreneurship slash business?
Um, I'm gonna give you two answers, right? I don't want to get, too high level, but the biggest thing about entrepreneurship is just revenue, right? You got to bring in sales, no matter if it's professional speaking, real estate, or media production. Sales cures all. So I'm in the business of selling, right? I got to be able to sell more videos to keep the lights on, to keep employing people, to keep giving scholarships, to keep the business running. So, revenue is going to be my answer all the time when it comes to the business. In terms of life in general, my biggest challenge is twofold. It's delayed gratification and consistently being consistent. Um, Delayed gratification, in my opinion, is the most important attribute to success. How long can you delay what you want now for what you want most? Right. And so I had a 2011 Ford Explorer with 283,000 miles that died on me this weekend. The rack and pinion went out. It's like $3,000 worth of work on like a car that's worth 500 bucks. So I had to go buy a new car. I didn't want to go buy a new car because, I want a new car now, but I really want a Porsche in the future, right? So the things that I'm doing right now is to get me that Porsche. But it's really hard to delay that gratification of going to get a new car, or going to spend money on this, or, going out with your friends that night instead of studying, right? It's so hard to delay gratification. So that's the biggest challenge for me. And I'm sure a lot of people that resonate with them. And then the second thing is being consistently consistent.
Consistently consistent.
Because I can be consistent I can work out for 2 months straight, right? 3 times a week, 2 months straight. But then you're going to have 2 weeks off where you don't feel like it. Or, there may be something that happens. I know around the same time last year in November, my grandmother had a fall. She was 87 years old. She had a fall. She never recovered from it. And she ended up passing away in February. And thank you. And, your life is just thrown completely upside down when something like that happens to your family, and all of your routines go out the window. It's crazy for me, when the biggest struggles happen, the things that keep me structured and regimented, I throw those out the windows first, when honestly, that's going to help me get through the tough time. Right. And so, you're going through this tough time, you start to throw those things out the window and you become inconsistent, whether that's with working out, whether that's with your work, whether that's with your spirituality, whether that's with your finances, your health, your eating habits, whatever it is, you become inconsistent with those things, and that's okay, because we're human. It's okay to be inconsistent. It's okay to have a cheat day. It's okay to have an off day. It's okay to make an impulsive purchase. It's okay to fail a test. We're going to fail. We're going to fall. It's okay. But for me, it's all about having that time out, right? Let's have this halftime. Let's see what we did wrong in the first half. Let's correct it. And let's go back out there tomorrow and be better. So the hardest thing for me, again, that delayed gratification and being consistently consistent. However, I have learned that for me personally, it's impossible to be consistently consistent. However, if I can get up each time that I'm inconsistent, that I fall, that I have a setback, if I can just get back up and keep going, then that's what matters most.
Awesome. If someone was interested in the field that you have chosen, what would you say to them?
Go out there and just do it, right? So unlike law, medicine, engineering, media is something that we all do anyway. We all have this thing, right? So we're all filming, we're all content creators. Go out there, start doing it, get really good at it, do a lot of it, network with people. But I think the biggest thing, Colin Thiele, he is a music video director. He was like, just go film stuff. That would be my biggest advice for anybody who's interested in digital media. Just start filming stuff.
That's great advice. In what ways do you hope your company will grow?
Yeah, I just want to be able to employ more people from a media production standpoint, be able to employ more people, be able to grow, work with bigger brands, make it to Netflix.
Oh,
And then,
Netflix, definitely
in
on the list.
Netflix. And then from a public speaking, because I consider that a company too, I want to be able to, just like you, continue to grow the podcast. I see you guys are at 6,000 downloads, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, trying to continue to grow the podcast, grow the professional speaking, get into more universities, and impart wisdom to more of the youth.
That's wonderful. Are there any services you wish to add to your company?
Wish to add some, no. If anything, I'm trying to. It's crazy. I want to downsize.
Oh, downsizing.
The
Okay.
service, not in the scale or the revenue, but
Right.
in the services that we offer. And we do weddings, we do photography, all that stuff. I want to
Wow.
do commercials and films, right?
Uh-huh.
I want to be able to truncate the service offering so we can be the best in the industry at what we do. I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
So, Micah, if folks wanted to get a hold of you and they want you to be a motivational speaker, or they
Yeah.
want to get a hold of you for media, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on all social medias. It's at Secrets of Silent Success. You can even type in my name, Micah Autry. I'll come up. And then, yeah, go to my website, which is DIRMicahAutry.com. Direct to Micah Autry. That's what it was when I bought that URL when I was 18. Don't judge me, guys. But yeah, DIRMicahAutry.com. And it has all my phone number, my email on there. Reach out, get connected. LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I got deals with Chick-fil-A and Porsche off of LinkedIn. So come talk to me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. And yeah, let's get connected.
What else should the audience know about your company?
I think for just about me or the company, I think it's about empowering those who have come from these disadvantaged circumstances. So whether that's giving people employment or opportunities through my media production company, or if that's going back and talking to a group of 8 kids or a group of 408 students or upward bound kids or whatever the case may be, I think that's the biggest thing. Is I'm just trying to empower those who have came from similar circumstances as me, to give them that exposure to know, hey, that you can do it as well.
Absolutely. Micah, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
What advice do you have for TRIO students, either they're pre-college or in college or thinking about returning to college?
Yeah, I'm going to take it back to how we opened the episode. You're not a product of your environment. You are a product of how you respond to your environment. You have the power, no matter what your circumstances, in my opinion, no matter what my circumstances were, no matter the lack of resources, the lack of education, whatever the case may be that my family had, I was able to do it. I said I came from the 6th worst neighborhood in the country, single parent household, lower socioeconomic status. My mom filed for bankruptcy. All of these things from a financial and educational standpoint, starting the race behind so many of my peers. And I'm not by any means, rich or living a life on a yacht. Not at all. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and go to work, right? Mm-hmm. But to be able to have some financial nimbleness, to be able to build a business, to be able to go back and help other students that have came from similar circumstances that I have. I think it's all about the way that I responded to my environment.
Another question for you, but I'm going to flip it a little bit. Okay. What is something you would like to say if you had the opportunity to speak with every TRIO professional from across the United States and the U.S. territories? What would you say to them?
Every TRIO professional. I think the biggest thing that I'm finding out is when it comes to the students, financial literacy and relatability, they're hungry for it. Right. And so when I talk to a group of students, I try not to talk at them. I talk through my experiences, right? If I want to tell them the difference between determining from a financial standpoint, the difference between a want and a need, I'll tell them about the story. When I was in my dorm room, I was 19 years old and I wanted these 2 pair of shoes that came out. I had $501 in my bank account. And in one weekend, I spent $425 on shoes and had $76 to live off of, to pay my car insurance, to pay for food. That's relatable because they want the shoes too. And when I can literally walk in the room and have those shoes on that I bought 11 years ago when I did not have the money in my account to do so, the relatability, the education, of financial literacy through my lived experience, not something that I read in the book, not something that I was taught by, even though like Dave Ramsey and those guys are great, right? And I've learned so much from them, but not through theirs or not through some online platform. It's just through my lived experiences. they resonate with that. They're like, wait, you bought 3 houses in 3 years? Like, yeah. How did you do it? Well, hey, this is how I did it. Right. I can just sit down and talk to them about how I did it. And that's been super relatable. And I think all of us professionals, if we're able to meet the students at that level, we can all help them be a little more successful with their finances.
That's amazing. Yeah, I absolutely agreed. What is something that you're currently reading, listening, or watching that you would recommend to the audience? Now, especially you being the multimedia person, is there anything that's grabbing your attention at the moment, entertainment-wise?
Yeah, I think Tom Bilyeu, I mentioned him earlier in the podcast. Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest Nutrition, but he has Impact Theory, which is a podcast, and he calls it an educational empowerment platform where he's interviewing everyone about business, about finance, about the economy, about some of the social, political issues that our nation and our world is dealing with. He interviews people about health, right? Gut health, right? Like the amount of information that he is disseminating for free with these individuals, and he's having like top level billionaires. Ray Dalio, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Ray Dalio, right? The founder and manager of the biggest hedge fund in America. He has this guy on his podcast 3 times, multi-billionaire, and they're just talking about economics and about our economy and about finance. And I'm just like, this is crazy, right? I probably couldn't pay enough money to sit in this type of conversation. So yeah, go check out Tom Bilyeu and Impact Theory. It has literally gave me so much information, and I will say like changed my life. The amount of people that I've learned about and the information I received from watching his YouTube videos.
Wow. What is one word you would use to describe yourself?
Monomaniacal.
Monomaniacal.
Monomaniacal. Yeah.
Truly unique word.
Yeah. Once I get my sights set on something that I want to achieve, the blinders go up, right? And it could be something. A lot of people think about, wealth or this or that. Like it could just be. I remember my sophomore year in college. I was in this film theory class, and the professor went into the first day. It's like, most of you are going to fail my class. It's the toughest class you're going to take on film theory. In film, the toughest lecture that you're going to take. That's not like a practical class. So most of you guys are going to fail it. And he's like, pretty much everybody fails my first test, right? So boom, right then and there. I'm challenged. I'm competitive. I like sports. I'm like, not only am I not going to fail your test, like I'm not going to miss a single answer on your test. Like that's the way I'm thinking.
Laser focus.
Monomaniacal. I didn't care about any class that week. I was going to pass this guy's test. And so I remember we were in this big lecture hall, UNT, the RTVF building, room 184. I remember it to the T, room 184. We're in this room. It's probably about 100 kids in there, right? And he starts passing out the test, and they're all face down. He says, okay, so, 47 of you made a D. He writes it on the board. 47 people made a D. 21 made a C. I have 12 made B's, and only 2 of you guys made an A. And before I flip my paper off, I'm like, yep, that A, that's me. All right. Passed out the papers. I flipped mine over. I had a 96. And I was like, told you so. Like, don't tell me I'm not going to pass your class. But that's the type of monomaniacal focus I am. Whether it's, telling my, at the time, best friend that you're going to be my wife one day. 10 years later, she's my wife. Right. I am monomaniacal about the things that I want to achieve in life. Absolutely.
Micah, and very impressive. It has been a true pleasure to speak with you today, to have you on this podcast, to hear about your life journey, and to hear the wonderful things that you're doing. I hope to have you again on the podcast. That would be great because, man, you have such a great story to tell, and you have just like a great life journey to share with others.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do it in person one time. I haven't been to Colorado State yet, so I'm going to put it on the list. I got to get out there for sure.
Come up to Fort Collins. I can share some pretty good spots over here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to come between like now and March, but hey, when it's a little warmer, I got you.
Certainly. Not during the cold season.
I'm texting through and through that white stuff. When it gets on the ground, we go inside and we close down. What is that white stuff on the ground? So I got you between, March and October. I'll see you. Yeah,
all right. Sounds good. Michael, we have a tradition on Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have the guests sign off. Do you care to do the honors?
Absolutely. I got you, brother. Let me know when you're ready.
You got it.
Got you. How's it going, guys? This is Micah Autry with Secrets of Silent Success from the University of North Texas, where I majored in radio, television, and film. Thank you for watching. I am the biggest Trio advocate, and I 1000% know that Trio works.
That was our guest, Micah Autry, an entrepreneur, published author, and motivational speaker. Micah, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your trio journey. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, TrioJoblist.com, Jaded Electronics, NOSOTROS Education Center, Cambridge Educational Services, and Student Access. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Email us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our business handle is at Let's Talk Trio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. This podcast was recorded Monday, November 13th, 2023. We are in an election year. I strongly urge our listeners to exercise their right to vote. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.